Hello there. Here are your weekend papers for the weekend of Saturday the 30th and Sunday the 31st of May. Your readers today are Janet and Marjorie, and Mike is at the helm. Intensive care in the fresh air. It has everything you would expect from a roof garden: flower beds, herbs and benches. But then, nestled among the plants, there are oxygen pipes, heart monitors and life support machines. The garden on the roof of King's College Hospital in South London is the NHS's first fully equipped outdoor intensive care ward. Doctors and nurses will care for up to 6 patients at a time in the fresh air of the garden, which opened yesterday on top of the hospital's 60-bed critical care unit. Research has shown that being close to nature has therapeutic benefits. The team will study how fresh air, sunlight and greenery can reduce stress and lower blood pressure. Tom Best, the clinical director of King's Critical Care, said, "Some of our most unwell patients spend weeks or even months in critical care, receiving intensive and often invasive treatment to give them the best chance of recovery. Many experience hallucinations or delirium in the clinical environment, which can be extremely frightening and delay recovery. Research shows that time spent in nature can reduce delirium, improve recovery outcomes, and lift the spirits of patients and their families. It's important to treat the whole person, and this outdoor critical care unit helps meet our goal of caring for the mind as well as the body. Critical care looks after patients with life-threatening conditions who need round-the-clock support. Most patients are admitted after serious accidents or medical emergencies. The garden allows each patient to be close to a specially designed weatherproof medical cabinet with power, data and gas supplies so that they can remain connected to the essential life support systems. It is part of the King's Critical Care Centre, one of the UK's largest intensive care facilities. The space was designed by the landscape architect Nigel Dunnett and the British garden designer Sarah Price. It was funded by a £2 million donation from King's College Hospital Charity, plus some funding from the Hospital Trust.
Under fire, Nicola Sturgeon has fled Scotland amid the political storm over her husband's embezzlement of £400,000 from the SNP and set up home in London. The former First Minister, who has spent her political career campaigning for Scotland to leave the United Kingdom, has now left the country herself and is renting a luxury house in the capital. The move comes amid prosecutors' attempts to claw back some of her estranged husband, Peter Murrell's stolen funds under proceeds of crime legislation. That could see Miss Sturgeon and her relatives forced to hand back any gifts given by Murrell. He admitted embezzling the money last week at Edinburgh High Court and is likely to face a hefty prison term. Miss Sturgeon has come under fire after she said she was unaware of many of the items her husband bought during the period he embezzled cash, such as expensive watches and games consoles. She also claimed she never once spotted the 24-foot motorhome he bought using party cash, despite it being parked outside her mother-in-law's house for 2 years. Instead, she said she only found out about the luxury vehicle when it featured in the police investigation in 2023. Sources close to Miss Sturgeon said she has taken a property in London as she tries to start a new career in the literary world. One said, "Nicola has found a place to stay in London. Let's face it, who wouldn't want to escape with all this going on?" Last August, in an interview about the release of her memoir, Miss Sturgeon admitted that she might like to move to London and said, "I think being physically out of Scotland for a period might just help to reset my perspective. Meanwhile, she may be forced to testify at Westminster about what she knew about the saga. MPs may be set to intervene after the House of Commons' powerful Scottish Affairs Committee was asked to open an investigation. Calls for the Westminster probe come after First Minister John Swinney rebuffed calls for a Scottish Parliament investigation into the scandal.
Living wage for the young may have to wait. Labour may not extend the living wage to younger workers before the next election, despite a manifesto pledge a Treasury Minister has suggested. Torsten Bell insisted there was no timeline on a promise in Labour's manifesto that the government would bring those aged 18 to 20 in line with older workers in terms of what they are paid. His comments came after Alan Milburn, a former Labour cabinet minister, joined business groups in warning that sharp rises in the cost of employing younger workers risked pricing a generation out of the jobs market. Pay for 18 to 20-year-olds has risen by 26% since 2024 to £10.85 an hour, compared with an 11% rise for older workers to £12.71. Speaking on BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Bell said the government remained committed to abolishing age bands in the minimum wage system. However, asked whether that would happen before the next election, expected in 2029, he said, "That's not what it says in the manifesto." He added, "It doesn't set the timeline on that because that's the important role of the Low Pay Commission to advise. The manifesto commits us to equalising the rates. We're absolutely committed to doing that." Labour's election manifesto pledged to remove the discriminatory age bands so that all adults are entitled to the same minimum wage. Andrew Griffith, the Shadow Business Secretary, said, "This looks like yet another U-turn." Milburn's report, published this week, warned the number of young people not in education, employment or training has become a moral crisis, with the annual economic cost forecast to rise to £125 billion.
Former Premier League star Raheem Sterling was arrested on suspicion of drug driving after crashing his Lamborghini into motorway barriers. The ex-England, Liverpool and Manchester City winger, 31, had been travelling on the M3 on Thursday morning when the collision occurred. Police pulled him over on the southbound carriageway in Hampshire at around 9 a.m. and arrested him. Sterling, who was released by Chelsea in January before signing for a Dutch club, has been struggling, say sources close to the Star. He is suspected of driving a vehicle while unfit through drugs, driving dangerously, possession of a Class C drug and failing to provide a specimen. He was released on bail pending further enquiries. Class C drugs include tranquilizers such as Valium, plus steroids, laughing gas and GHB. Hampshire Police said last night, just before 9 a.m. on Thursday, we received reports that a Lamborghini was in collision with barriers on the M3 southbound, close to the Minley interchange. No other vehicles were involved and no injuries reported. The driver, a 31-year-old man from Berkshire, has been arrested on suspicion of driving a vehicle whilst unfit, and he has been bailed. Sterling was aged just 15 when he was signed by Liverpool from the QPR Academy in 2010. He became a fan's favourite at Anfield before a contract dispute saw him move to Manchester City in 2015. Though he enjoyed massive success, winning 4 Premier League titles, 5 Carabao Cups and an FA Cup. Less successful spells followed at Chelsea and Arsenal. Sterling has also won 82 caps for England, scoring 20 goals. He is engaged to Paige Million, with whom he has 2 children. A source close to him said he was a prolific English international who has steered the England squad to significant heights over the last decade and has been made to feel worthless and forgotten about in recent years, and the psychological strain that has put on him is immeasurable.
Farage phone hack referred to police by Labour chair. Nigel Farage's claim that his phone was hacked by Russia has been referred to the police by Labour, which said it was an issue of national security. The Reform UK leader said last week that foreign state actors, most likely serving Moscow, had hacked his phone to leak information about a £5 million gift he received from Christopher Harborne, a cryptocurrency billionaire. Yesterday, Anna Turley, the Labour chairwoman, wrote to the National Cyber Security Centre and the Metropolitan Police. The Mail on Sunday had reported claims from Reform that counter-espionage experts had indicated that hostile state actors had used spear phishing tactics to compromise his phone. However, on Monday, Ciara Martin, the former head of the National Cyber Security Centre, told The Guardian that Farage's version of events were without any merit. Farage has given different explanations for the £5 million sum, including to pay for his security and as a reward for campaigning for Brexit for 27 years. A Reform spokesman said, "It will be inappropriate to comment further while investigations are ongoing." The Met confirmed that it had received Turley's correspondence.
More than half of Britons are opposed to resident doctors' pay strikes, a poll has revealed. A YouGov survey of almost 5,500 people found 52% opposed industrial action, compared with 37% in favour, compared to 2 years ago when a majority supported the strikes. The British Medical Association announced earlier last week medics will walk out for 4 days from 7 a.m. on Monday, June the 15th, the 16th action since 2023. The strike was called an hour after the BMA's first talks with new Health Secretary James Murray, who said he had been clear that a 33.4% pay rise for resident doctors over 4 years made demands for further rises unrealistic, unaffordable and unsustainable. But Jack Fletcher, chairman of the BMA's Resident Doctors Committee, said strike action has been effective at bringing the government to the negotiation table, adding, "We are losing doctors to other countries because they are not valued."
Tycoon was prone to stumbling, son insists after fatal fall. The son of the founder of the Mango fashion giant, who is suspected of pushing his father to his death from a mountain path, will argue that the tycoon was prone to stumbling before because of a knee problem. Lawyers for Jonathan Andick, who maintains his innocence, said they have recreated how his father, Isaac, aged 71, could have accidentally fallen into a ravine near Barcelona and have found security camera footage of the businessman suffering a previous fall. Jonathan Andick's defence claim other new evidence, including his tearful call to emergency services shortly after his father's death in 2024, shows that there was no foul play. According to La Vanguardia newspaper, lawyers have obtained footage showing Isaac Andick losing his balance and almost falling 10 months before his death. The Catalan newspaper reported that cameras at the Barcelona headquarters of Mutua Universal recorded the businessman stumbling in a lobby in February 2024. Legal experts said the footage shows a sudden loss of balance, and an inability to use his hands to break the fall, and a tendency for his body to drift to the right. Jonathan Andick's lawyers commissioned a reconstruction of the fatal accident at the Camí de les Filiaxes trail using drones, high-definition cameras and sensor-equipped mannequins. A private investigator concluded that the injuries generated by the simulation matched those recorded in the autopsy. The lawyers said it demonstrated no push was required to explain the fall. They also cited medical specialists at Complutense University in Madrid, who said Isaac Andick suffered from bilateral knee osteoarthritis and a neuromotor impairment that could have prevented him reacting in time. The findings are intended to rebut complaints that the absence of injuries to Isaac's palms suggest he was pushed and did not have a chance to break his fall. Jonathan Andick, 45, was arrested last week on suspicion of murder after a judge concluded there was insufficient evidence to suggest that his father's death may not have been accidental. He was released after posting a £1 million bail and surrendering his passport. Judge Raquel Nieto Galvan cited alleged inconsistencies in Jonathan Andick's statements, tensions within his father over inheritance, and evidence, she said, pointed to possible premeditation. She also highlighted a footprint found near where Isaac Andick fell, which police claim could not have been made by an accidental slip and appeared to have been created to simulate one. Jonathan Andick stepped down this week as vice chairman of Mango, saying the demands of the judicial process prevented him from maintaining the commitment required by the role. In a letter to employees, he described the allegations as the gravest, most unjust and unfounded accusation that can be levelled against a person. He rejected suggestions of a troubled relationship with his father, writing that they shared a loving bond. We experienced difficult and complex moments which we overcame with great effort, generosity and help, he wrote.
A bronze monument to British soldiers killed in the liberation of France has been stolen a week before D-Day commemorations. The one-ton statue of a piper in the 51st Highland Division vanished on Friday at Braville-le-Mans, north of Caen. It is a tribute to Scottish infantrymen who stormed onto Juno Beach in Normandy on June 6, 1944, before dying in a fierce firefight a few days later. Visitors from Britain paying homage were due to gather round the statue next Saturday on the 82nd anniversary of D-Day. The statue was reported missing early on Friday. It was forced off its plinth and clearly loaded onto a vehicle. A theory is that scrap metal dealers will smash it to pieces to sell off the bronze. The statue was put up 15 years ago in the grounds of Château Saint-Côme, where 51st Highlanders fought alongside elements of the 6th Airborne Division. The vastly outnumbered Highlanders, mainly in the 5th Battalion Black Watch, lost 110 men in 2 days as they helped secure a bridgehead across the River Orne. The lane leading up to the chateau became so dangerous it is known as Death Alley. The site is close to Pegasus Bridge, captured in a daring glider assault by Major John Howard in the opening minutes of D-Day, before support arrived from troops storming the beaches. Such scenes, including a famous one with a Scottish piper, were depicted in the film The Longest Day, featuring Sean Connery. Scottish troops were famous for taking pipers into battle, playing tunes such as Highland Laddie, The Road to the Isles and Blue Bonnets Over the Border. As well as helping to keep units together in the chaos of the battle, the sound of the bagpipes lifted morale. Enemy veterans later recalled how frightening the sound of the pipes could be.
Junior doctor who tied the knot while training avoids the sack. A junior doctor has been suspended for a year after she told bosses she was attending a training day when she was actually getting married. Preeti Suresh, a cardiology trainee at the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, was found to have dishonestly completed NHS administration forms in which she claimed to have been on a course instead of attending the ceremony. A tribunal was told that the trainee's deceit was ultimately discovered by a supervisor, which prompted Suresh to admit her lie, although she claimed that she had done so out of panic or into being in a chaotic state of mind. A medical practitioners' tribunal suspended Suresh for 12 months after ruling that she was guilty of serious misconduct. Suresh originally qualified as a doctor in India in 2016 and at the time of her wedding was working as a postgraduate doctor in the cardiology training programme at the NHS Trust in East Anglia. She had booked leave for her wedding between February the 26th and March the 1st, 2024. The training courses were part of an annual review of competence and trainees were informed that attendance at approximately 60% of sessions was expected. A training day was scheduled for February the 29th and 2 QR codes posted on WhatsApp for trainees to register attendance. Suresh was said to have completed the online forms and uploaded a certificate of completion to her portfolio. But the tribunal heard that Vasilios Vasiliou, a consultant cardiologist at the hospital, realised that it had not seen Suresh at the training day. The consultant informed the junior doctor, who admitted that she had lied, saying that she immediately knew it was wrong. Suresh explained that she had been in a chaotic state of mind in advance of the wedding. In evidence to the tribunal, Suresh said she had struggled to attain training sessions because she had been on call. She had attempted to attend after doing night shifts, but doing so had left her exhausted. The junior doctor added that she had wrongly believed that there was a 70% required attendance of training days and thought that she had been falling short. However, it transpired that Suresh was actually well above the required attendance. Suspending the doctor, the tribunal chairwoman Emma Gilliperthorpe described her behaviour as seriously dishonest, but noted that she had accepted full responsibility and was not seeking to blame colleagues, the training programme, her wedding or any external factor.
Many of us will have wondered what might really be going on inside the minds of our pets. And now a survey has revealed the top questions people would ask their furry friends. A poll of 2,000 cat and dog owners revealed 54% often wished they could talk to their pooches to find out what they really think and feel. Many pet lovers wonder, do you like your life? And what's your favourite thing we do together? Whilst the most popular question was, are you happy? Other curiosities spanned whether pets could understand every word their owner says and what is actually happening in that head. Around 1 in 10 feline owners have wondered what their moggy is plotting, while others would like to know if their pet is judging them or if they get jealous. But 18% are keen to show if their mutt could be autistic, and 36% wondered if their cat can read their mind. Pet insurer Petgevity commissioned the research as it launched a podcast on neurodiversity in pets. The research also revealed 88% of pet owners are confident they truly understand their animal. Some 4 in 10 find themselves chatting to their animal companion as if they were human, according to the research, with almost half having asked their pet for advice on important life decisions such as a breakup. Many have also imagined their pet having human qualities, such as a favourite type of food or a distinct sense of humour. Kerry Willicombe of Petgevity said, "The fact owners always have questions about their furry friends just goes to show how much they want to understand their pets and make them happy."
Rolls-Royces drive residents to revolt. The sight of a vintage Rolls-Royce is not uncommon in the streets of Dulwich Village, but 4 parked in the same spots for months has set alarm bells ringing, with locals fearing that a wealthy collector has turned free parking into his own private showroom. Residents in the South London suburb first noticed the fleet of cars, which include a 1977 Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith 2 and a 1990 Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit 2, in November last year. Since then, the cars have remained in situ, bar a few hours every other weekend when the owner, described as a middle-aged bloke, takes them for a drive. Faced with inaction by Southwark Council and the police because the cars are taxed, insured and parked legally, the residents have begun to campaign to reclaim their street. Using stickers and posters, they hope to shame the mysterious owner into moving. One message stuck to a windscreen yesterday sought to emulate a parking fine. "You parked like an idiot," the yellow and black sticker said. "Warning, it is an offence for any person other than the idiot driver to remove this notice." "Hey pal, this is not your car showroom," said another. "There are spaces for visitors to Dulwich Village. Please move your cars." The lack of parking has been of concern to local shopkeepers who fear that customers may stop visiting as they can't park their cars. Eve Watson, 29, a shop assistant, said, "The village is awkward for people to park in, and this is taking up even more space. It's annoying." A spokeswoman for Southwark Council said, "The council is aware of the issues raised."
Strictly Judge Shirley Ballas has risked the wrath of BBC bosses after allegedly pocketing more than £10,000 to host a cruise ship show that so faithfully replicated the programme, passengers said they could have been watching the real thing. Miss Ballas, 65, was hired for the 7-day voyage from Southampton to Norway on board the Virtuosa, which was advertised as bringing strictly glamour to the 19-deck luxury liner. During the journey, the former ballroom champion presided over a dance competition, scoring contestants with paddles similar to those used in Strictly, and was introduced to the 200-strong audience using the show's iconic theme tune. Miss Ballas assumed the role of head judge, delivering critiques of footwork and timing, mirroring her on-screen job, and wore a diamante suit, which she told guests had been made for the show. The voyage, which departed on May the 9th and called at ports including Stavanger and Kristiansand, is run by MSC Cruises. In its marketing for the voyage, the company used Miss Ballas's Strictly profile, billing it as a Strictly-style holiday and promising guests a chance to experience her energy, style and sparkle at sea. Among other activities on offer to holidaymakers were a dance masterclass, a question and answer session in which she shared behind-the-scenes stories from Strictly, and a meet and greet with the star. On multiple occasions, she was introduced using the Strictly theme tune, which the Mail on Sunday understands was neither approved nor licensed by the BBC. She described the dance class to passengers as replicating the week of rehearsals which Strictly contestants take part in ahead of their performances on the Saturday night. The BBC's editorial guidelines state that promotional work involving licensed, fee-funded talent must not imitate, suggest a reference or connection to or pass off BBC content, including replicating any editorial elements of a programme, and must not suggest BBC endorsement. Individuals must also declare any commercial interests which are connected with programmes that they represent.
Leaves mean leave for Johnson's willow tree. Boris Johnson once wrestled with the bureaucratic might of the European Union. These days his entreaties are addressed to South Oxfordshire District Council's Planning Department. The former Prime Minister, 61, and his wife Carrie Johnson, 38, had grown frustrated over falling leaves at their £3.8 million Grade 2 listed home in the Cotswolds village of Brightwell-cum-Sotwell. The couple lodged a planning application with the council, asking for a willow and 2 unwanted ash trees to be felled. The requests have now been waved through with no objections. Documents posted on the council planning portal show Johnson asked for the willow tree to be removed to make way for a new shed, and because falling leaves keep filling up the pool and filter, causing damage to the filter. One of the other trees to be ripped up is almost dead due to ash dieback disease. The third was too big for the location and shades a new patio area, according to the application, which said that the couple were looking to plant many trees in due course. It is 3 years since the Johnsons won the right to build a pool at their moated estate, despite fears over the impact on a colony of great crested newts. Johnson said he was willing to dedicate the pool to the amphibians.
Legally speaking, they are cakes. For countless Britons, however, Jaffa cakes are biscuits, found in the biscuit aisle at the supermarket and stored in a biscuit tin. So in news likely to delight the Bicky Brigade, makers McVitie's are giving chocolate digestives the Jaffa treatment. Costing £2.35 a packet, the new flavour will have the usual crumbly base dipped in chocolate, but with a Jaffa cake flavoured layer inserted in the middle. First introduced in the UK in 1927, Jaffa cakes consist of a disc of orange-flavoured jelly covered in milk chocolate and a sponge base. In 1991, McVitie's won a case against the taxman, proving that Jaffa cakes were cakes and therefore exempt from VAT. But fans have continued to passionately debate what type of sweet treat they are ever since. Among those in the biscuit camp is cookery writer Nigel Slater, who may point to the fact Jaffa cakes measure barely more than 2 inches in diameter, the size of a small biscuit. But celebrity chef Jamie Oliver is among those who insist they are cakes. Oliver says it's based around a sponge recipe, like a little Madeleine. Is that a biscuit? No. McVitie said, "We've spent years and a considerable amount of time proving that Jaffa cakes, clues in the name, are cakes. We are setting the record straight once and for all, and it seems creating a natural biscuit is the only way forward. We hope cake and biscuit fans alike enjoy it, and that biscuit believers across the UK can finally put the debate to bed." A physicist tried to solve the debate in 2021 with the help of artificial intelligence. Dr. Heloise Stevens at the University of Auckland in New Zealand trained algorithms with nearly 100 recipes of traditional cakes and biscuits. She then ran 2 Jaffa cake recipes through the algorithms, which recognised them as cakes without a doubt. The debate is one of the greatest causes of arguments amongst British families, the doctor claimed.
Genetic test could allow breast cancer patients to avoid chemotherapy. Millions of women with breast cancer could avoid chemotherapy thanks to a groundbreaking genetic test. Scientists said it could benefit up to 5,000 women being treated within the NHS in England each year and could help to provide better, more tailored treatments for millions worldwide. Chemotherapy is one of the hardest-hitting treatments for cancer in terms of side effects, and avoiding it could improve the quality of life during treatment for many patients. While it is typically offered to patients with early-stage breast cancer that has spread to the lymph nodes to prevent it from returning, it may not significantly improve the prognosis of women with hormone-sensitive breast cancer. In the Optima trial, the results of which were presented at the American Society of Clinical Oncologists annual meeting in Chicago, scientists from University College London evaluated a test to find out which patients could safely forgo chemotherapy and its side effects without having a worse prognosis. The test, called Proxenia, measures the activity of genes involved in breast cancer growth by testing tissue removed during surgery. Those with a low score on this test may not benefit from chemotherapy. The 4,400 patients were split into 2 groups, half receiving chemotherapy regardless of their test result, as is standard, and half had their treatment directed by their test score. More than 2/3 of the patients, 68%, had a low score of below 60. The results show that 94.8% of patients who received chemotherapy and hormone therapy, the standard current treatment, were alive and cancer-free 5 years after the trial. Meanwhile, 93.6% of those who had hormone therapy but no chemotherapy were also alive and cancer-free 5 years later. meaning that for women with a low Progenia score, chemotherapy did not significantly improve their outcome. While chemotherapy is effective at destroying rapidly dividing cancer cells, it also inadvertently affects healthy, fast-growing cells in the body, leading to side effects. Patients can experience profound fatigue, nausea, vomiting, a loss of appetite, and hair loss. Some 2 million people receive a diagnosis of hormone-sensitive breast cancer worldwide each year, meaning that if 2/3 of them have low Progenia scores, millions could benefit. The research showed the patients who were over the age of 40 across the UK, Norway, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand and Thailand. Ian Macpherson, co-chief investigator and professor of breast oncology at the University of Glasgow, said, "These findings represent a major step forward in delivering more personalised, precise care, ensuring that treatment decisions are driven by what will genuinely improve outcomes for patients while avoiding unnecessary toxicity." Karen Bonham, 64 from Cardiff, described the news that she could forgo chemotherapy as like Christmas. She was diagnosed with breast cancer after attending a routine screening in 2017. Enrolling on the trial instead of chemotherapy, she went on to receive radiotherapy and hormone therapy. She now leads a normal, active life.
They're used to saving hikers and climbers who get into trouble while out on remote moorlands and fells. But when locals spent 3 days searching for a lost dog in scorching heat, mountain rescuers felt the need to step in with a thermal drone, finding the pet in just 10 minutes. The 7-year-old black-brindled Staffordshire Bull Terrier had broken free of owner Andrew Charlton's grip during one of their walks in Rothbury, Northumberland last week, and vanished into dense undergrowth. Mr. Charlton, 63, was devastated, as Jock had been a constant companion to him through his treatment and recovery from head and neck cancer. Risking sunburn and heat stroke in temperatures of high 20 degrees, a determined Mr. Charlton was joined by his local community, including farmers and gamekeepers, to search for Jock by foot, bike and quad bike. Some even camped overnight in the hope that the animal might venture out as temperatures cooled. But as hope for Jock's safe return dimmed, volunteers from Northumberland National Park's Mountain Rescue Team deployed a thermal drone, finding a hungry but unharmed Jock tethered to dense undergrowth by his head. Describing their reunion, Mr. Charlton said, "He's not just a dog, he's my best mate who was by my side as we explored these moors together while I recovered from head and neck cancer. Jock never gave up on me, and I was determined not to give up on him. As soon as the mountain rescue team freed him, he bounced straight into my arms and I cried as I hugged him. I don't know how he survived in that heat for 3 days, with no water, no food. To find him alive and bouncy is miraculous. He's one tough dog. The bizarre thing is, I must have walked within feet of Jock many times during my search, calling his name, and he never made a sound. I think he went into some kind of primal state of fear, where an animal's response is to stay as still and as quiet as possible. Jock is said to be none the worse for his ordeal, and he's back exploring the moors, this time with a tracker fitted to his collar.
Let's go on a good walk, Maiden Castle and the Hardy Monument in Dorset. Maiden Castle is surprisingly huge. We'd known this before our visit, but still, emerging from the outskirts of Dorchester and into South Dorset's rolling chalk grasslands, the scale of it took our breath away. One of Europe's largest and most complex hill forts, the castle's extensive network of ditches and ramparts would once have housed hundreds of people. Constructed over many millennia, it features an Iron Age fort overlying 2 Neolithic monuments with a Roman temple added for good measure. For somewhere so awe-inspiring, it's a refreshingly relaxed place to visit, with just a few information boards dotted across the site to ponder as you please. We soon found ourselves lost amid the folds of the fort, climbing steeply to follow pale, tread-worn paths along the tops of the ramparts, bracing against a cold, rain-flecked wind before plunging into the depths of the ditches. When we thought we'd explored it all, more would appear, unfurling beyond the next rise. It would be easy to walk miles without even leaving the fort, but we eventually found our way out, following the course of a buttercup-strewn dry valley down to the South Winterbourne, one of Dorset's many streams that vanish beneath the porous chalk bedrock in the summer. While too cold for the butterflies, the air buzzed with birdsong. Corn buntings trilled, flitting ahead between wire fences. A yellow hammer held his tiny wings aloft and chattered furiously as he chased off a rival. Skylarks thrummed overhead. From the valley we climbed through fields greening with seedlings and pasture land dotted with ancient tumuli. Cresting the top of the ridge, we could see the coast unfolding below, patchwork fields hemmed by a silver sea. Centre stage stood the Isle of Portland, flanked by Weymouth Bay and Lyme Bay, while westward ran the pale line of Chesil Beach. We joined the South Dorset Ridgeway, which forms an inland section of the South West Coast Path, linking the 17 miles between West Bexington and Osmington Mills. After an unsettled morning, the sun came out, blue skies spreading over Broncombe Hill, crowned by a pair of hawthorns frothy with May blossom. The hill has a remarkable series of Bronze Age barrows. Reaching Blackdown Nature Reserve, we walked through the last of the year's bluebells to reach the Hardy Monument, commanding views from the Mendip Hills to the Isle of Wight. Now owned by the National Trust, the 72-feet-high tower was built to honour Sir Thomas Masterman Hardy, flag captain of HMS Victory at the Battle of Trafalgar. Oxeye daisies danced along the lane as we headed for Martinstown, home to the 12th century church of St Martin and the Brewers' Arms. The pub is closed on Mondays, so we continued, skirting fields where swallows sighed through the warm air. Maiden Castle appeared on the skyline, its sheer immensity taking us by surprise all over again.
Royal Mail has missed delivery targets for another year, its latest service quality report revealed yesterday. Just 75.7% of first-class items arrived the next working day in the 12 months to the end of March. Some 90.2% of second-class mail arrived within 3 working days. Both figures were marginally worse than the year before. Ofcom expects figures of 90% for first-class mail and 95% for second-class. The watchdog said it was very concerned and is set to launch a full investigation into the company's performance. The business was fined £21 million last year for missing annual targets. Royal Mail has vowed to spend £500 million to improve its service, plans including axing second-class Saturday deliveries. And here's 2 interesting little snippets. Tyrannosaurus Rex's tiny arms were a result of his huge bone-crushing skull, a study found. Experts who analysed 82 species of 2-legged, mostly meat-eating theropods found shorter forelimbs in 5 groups. As prey grew in size, predators such as T-Rex evolved bigger jaws for lethal bites, but their claws became redundant. University College London's Charlie Shearer said, "The head took over from arms as the method of attack. It's a case of use it or lose it." And a drunken student drank fabric freshener she mistook for water. Lucia Pardo, 20, felt the toxic liquid burn her throat, but thought it was due to eating a hot pizza. When she woke up with stomach cramps, her Warwick University pal drove her to hospital. Medics gave her charcoal tablets to remove the toxins. Politics student Lucia of Birmingham said, "I'm grateful nothing worse happened."
And now we have a Nature Notebook article by Miriam Darlington. In an insect wonderland, it pays to move gently. The heat wave closed in during our Whitsun week in Gloucestershire, and each morning we were shaken by a thronging buzz that climbed up our legs. It brought us into contact with a world of tiger-in light and tall grass. We paused again and again to peer at a tiny black wasp, an unknown moth. The zip of hunting dragonflies, lacewings, a small copper butterfly or small blue, spiderlings that invited themselves across our bare limbs. Inside the house, small colonies of woodlice, taking refuge alongside us in the cool, rolled into gunmetal spheres at our fingers. The tiny wasp I first thought was an iridescent beetle with a metallic turquoise thorax and astonishing ruby tail peered back at me from the stem of the garden umbrella. It was a chrysis from the cuckoo wasp family that lays its eggs in other insects' nests. It derives its name from the Greek word meaning gold vessel or gold embroidered dress. And above it all, the charismatic buzz of hornets. They hefted past our ears like B-42s as we lolled in our deck chairs, or their flight paths took them through windows and out the open door. We instinctively stilled at their approach and moved softly out of the way. Mirroring the hornets, a constant daytime soundtrack came from on high, real B-52 bombers passing overhead from RAF Fairford. Despite the insect apocalypse, this secluded valley was teeming. An ecstasy of wild bees, too many to name, lost on the irises and among the wild geraniums and crimson wigelia. One bee, in the silky embrace of a giant white oriental poppy, was stained from furry face to buff tail in purple pollen. White poppies, we mused, that had been planted here in the name of peace. European hornets have one of the worst public relation problems in the insect world. Loud and armed with a sting, they are treated as airborne villains. Yet they are restrained animals and in many ways beneficial. They are crepuscular hunters using large compound eyes and light-sensitive simple eyes to fly in moonlight. Lying in my attic room, I listen to them buzzing along their flight paths at night or whizzing by my lazy afternoon hammock like Harley-Davidsons. There are reasons, apart from their size, why people find them unnerving. A hornet hitting a lit window or thumping about inside a room feels unnatural, but artificial light confuses their navigation. Hornets are pest control specialists, predators that hunt flies, caterpillars, beetles and other wasps. In orchards and forests, they are a natural part of the ecosystem and function as biological control agents, preying on insects that we find bothersome, such as blowflies, horseflies and crop pests. During the day, as the heat rippled into an incandescence of buzzing, flitting, creeping and jumping, we began to understand that, outnumbered as we were, our place was to be curious rather than reactive. The insects were teaching us another way of being. In the heat of the valley, everything became about gentleness and definitely no swatting. By day, we did as our European neighbours and closed all windows and curtains. At night, we opened everything up so the house became a blissful chimney of cool, circulating air. Now our senses were enlivened by the moths drawn to the white walls and light in the bathroom. This was a more effective moth trap than we'd set up outside. We aimed to view the diversity of moth life and the creatures we found on the bathroom tiles, and it tipped us into an uncanny valley of cryptic pattern and camouflage and things not quite as they seem. A lot of people think of moths as boring butterflies, but we were entranced by the moth effect. A white ermine woke up and vibrated its feelers at my daughter as she tried to liberate it, and we theorised that this could have been its tactic to elude its main nighttime predator, which are bats. Bats and moths are locked in an evolutionary arm race. Bats want to eat moths, moths don't want to be eaten, and as a result both have incredible adaptations. Some moths produce jamming clicks that interfere with the bat's sonar. Moths have beautiful scales on their bodies and wings that act not only as visual camouflage during the day, but as acoustic armour that deadens some of the sounds bats used to echolocate. There was hypnotic intricacy in the patterns of the moths we found. the common carpet, green carpet, red spot carpet, plum tortrix, muslin footman, blood vein, barred umber, white ermine and treble spot brown were all gathered in the bathroom one morning. My favourite was the mundanely named but extraordinary buff tip, for exactly resembling a snapped birch twig. It was only visible because it was clinging haplessly to the blue and white marginal bathroom tiles. The house, garden and surrounding valley woods had blurred all boundaries between wild and human, and we could do nothing but luxuriate in the summer carnival. And that ends our session today. Thank you for listening. So it's goodbye from Janet, Marjorie and Mike.